This episode we have ups and downs. Right now we're being chased by a whale. Hopefully he's going to surface, or she is going to surface behind me while I'm recording this. But we had a rough night last night and an amazing once in a lifetime day today. So stay tuned to see what happened. There is, look at this. Unbelievably, Matthias has got all the instruments to test a standing wave reflection. Listen, I think Matthias is going to explain it to you better than me, but we know that the VHF is working well, and there's basically no reflection off the VHF. But we're going to switch over. We know there is reflection off the AIS, and I've been having problems with my AIS. The performance has been very poor and intermittent as well. So basically, we're swapping over the two cables and using. Matthias has got a power and a standing wave reflection meter, unbelievably, which is incredible. So we're going to switch them over. Matthias is going to check them upstairs, and we'll have a look in a second. Okay, so Matthias has just finished up and been an incredible help. So he used his standing wave reflection instrument, which measured power and standing wave reflection. And now, having changed and bared the cables and set up the cables much better, basically the inner core is separate from the outer core, and then there's a bit of shrink wrap to stop it from moving, and insulated the cables. Then we've gone from we had 8 miles range before, and now you can see that that's nearly 460 miles away, this ship. So yeah, and also we're displaying this from the HDMI from my laptop, just running to this TV as well, so that just makes it helpful. I've shown in other videos. So yeah, just amazing how having the right piece of equipment, the right tools can really make a big difference. And obviously with Matthias' incredible knowledge in electronics and physics, it's just been incredibly helpful. So there you go. So we're having an interesting past couple of days, and I thought I'd share it with you. So rather than having my opinion, why don't I just show you the evidence of robust equipment or not in this case. So I'm a very big fan of, as I've said in my other videos, that OpenCPN, I honestly think, like Wikipedia, these guys should be supported. So if you want to give to a charity and you're a sailor, highly suggest giving to OpenCPN. And this is the perfect reason why. Let me show you. So at the moment, we've actually lost 2 Chartplotters from this BandG company. So this Chartplotter, I've tried my best to get it back working again. It's failed. It's less. This one is actually less than a year old. So I should get it under warranty, which is what everybody would say. Yeah, get your warranty work. But when you're off grid and for a long period of time, you can't just simply get a new one sent out to you. What you have to do is you have to send the piece of equipment out back to them. They verify that, yeah, you can replace it under warranty, and then they send you a new one back. So warranty isn't much good, really. I've got to be honest with you. You need a good, robust piece of equipment in the first place. So let me show you something that I think, the one on the helm also has gone. And what that means is I kind of juggle between a few, different charts. So at the moment, this is a chart from, I'm using OpenCPN here, and I've set it up to copy almost exactly. So for free, for a plugin, Eva can show you that I've got this, check out this plugin. So there's my apparent wind, my true wind, and I've done some custom displays here. Here's my VMG, everything. And then look across, here's a piece of equipment that I had to pay for. It's very expensive piece of equipment. But what I've done in this kind of, let's say, not emergency scenario, but you should always be using paper charts as a backup, and this is a perfect example of why you need paper charts. So I'm using what's called a multiplexer from ActiSense, and I'm going direct via USB to my laptop, and then using the information from the settings from OpenCPN. So I'm just quickly going to show you how I do that. So I go to options in OpenCPN. It's just a brief, I'm not going to do a complete setup, and then you go to connections. And then you can see that I've got, at the moment, I've got ActiSense's USB connector. So that's this one here on the left. And I've also got the AIS unit, which is from Navico. It's got a BandG brand in it, but Navico seems, I think, owns BandG. So let me just show you. So I've got those two set up. So now because my Wi-Fi and my Chartplotter has failed, that means that I can't use the OpenCPN like I normally do. I jump off the Wi-Fi network of the Chartplotter, and I jump off that, and then I use OpenCPN anyway to navigate. I think it's better. Now, what I would warn you is that I'm not sure how deliberate it is, but the Navionics charts only work with some selected pieces of equipment and software. So what's interesting is that they choose to work with, Garmin, your usual guys, Garmin, Raymarine and BandG. So you can select, the little cards. So when you buy the Navionics Plus charts, they come with this little card. You put your chip in, update it, la-di-da-di-da, take out this little chip, and as you can see, you put it in the chart plotter here. Right, so there's a little chip, put it in the chart plotter over here, and that's how that's meant to work, right? So I'll just put this one back in, just so I don't lose it. So that's how that's normally meant to work. Now, but the only problem is, I'm offshore in Mexico, and I've got all that information on my charts anyway, right? But I cannot use that Navionics information. I have to rely on my OpenCPN setup, which I am now, basically relying on my OpenCPN, and I bought some charts from Blue Latitude, which are excellent, by the way. Now, I've got some other backup charts as well. The beauty about OpenCPN is you can cycle using hotkeys very quickly between the different charts. So just to recap, I'm plugging into my multiplexer, which is getting me all the core boat systems, all of that wind information that this piece of equipment uses is all coming into the laptop. All right. So that's how I'm populating all that information. And what I'm doing is through a separate USB, I'm going direct from my Navico BandG, it's BandG branded Navico AIS unit. And I've had a lot of problems with it. It's another thing from BandG that I've had problems with. And so if Eva just shows you onto the desk here, you can see my AIS unit, and I'm plugged directly in via USB, and that's just basically going up. I've stressed it up nicely to come in through the side of the laptop over here. So this is obviously where all my comms equipment is underneath the chart. And so what does that mean? I have to go direct via USB to my laptop. And so I'm now navigating 100% off this. But now that I've done that, I've now noticed another problem. My AIS, it's the AIS, NAIS 500 unit I have here, isn't receiving adequately the signal. Now, in order to use these charts that I already have bought, I now had to buy another piece of software that I don't particularly want to use just to access my charts. And this piece of software is called PC Plotter, PCP for short. And for some reason, this person, whoever's created this PC Plotter software, has got the rights to use the Navionics. Now, I just think it's crazy that I bought these chips with the information on it, and I can't just simply use it on my preferred navigational software, which is OpenCPN. What I have to do is either buy a $6,500 replacement for this, or buy £150, which is some $200 piece of software that isn't as good, in my opinion, as the free OpenCPN. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think there's something wrong there. And yeah, I just think it's very important to show you, so that in less than 3 years, I've lost 2 Chartplotters, 1 AIS. I've had loads of problems with my radar, but it's set up now. It's a 4G broadband branded by BandG, but it's actually a Navico. So, and the only thing that hasn't gone yet is the BandG radio. Now, what I think might be a smart idea, rather than spending money buying 2 Chartplotters, you can get this instrument called a multiplexer. Now, this software, PCP plotter, claims to basically, once you connect it to all your information, to be a multiplexer by Wi-Fi, which is using your computer to send a Wi-Fi signal out that all the other, your notepad and stuff can connect to it, like as if you bought a specific multiplexer like this one that I bought here. So what I would suggest you do, in summary, is go to a company which Garmin have just bought called Vespa, and there's a Vespa Cortex, and when all of this stuff has failed, buy a Vespa Cortex and get a compatible radar dome, which this 4G broadband is with OpenCPN. The new Halo 24 is also compatible, and I suggest that you take the effort to do a custom setup and set it up with OpenCPN. And that means that you're not basically supporting someone that basically wants to charge you $6.50 for a touchscreen that doesn't even work. There you go. Hope it helps. Now Eva, is up my mask because we've got she's basically going to change out my old radar, which is 4G broadband, and we bought a Halo 20, relatively cheap compared to the 24. So that gives us 20 miles range, but I'll explain all of it later. So this is a great thing. Eva's not only extremely beautiful, but she's also my bosun. So yeah, we're just going to send her up a little bit more. So I'm just going to try and focus on Eva's safety. There you go. Yeah. So normally we should use, a safety line, one of these. So that's the main sail halyard, and this is the spinnaker halyard. But I know that actually this mainsail halyard, the shackle at the top, isn't great. So that's one thing we're going to fix later on. And then jammer's closed, so that when she comes down, if something were to happen, then you've got the backup of the jammer. But yeah, don't tell Eva's mum and dad. So here she is. We got her down relatively easy. Now I bought Navico Simrad or BandG, they're all the same. Simrad is the parent company, I think. Simrad, it's almost identical radar dome. But what we want to show you is somebody was making a house in our house. So yeah, unfortunately we broke the egg, but
I killed the babies.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's that's the swallow, the migratory swallow. Here you can see this. It's a little small one that always comes on board and dies. Yeah, nice one though. Alright. So everything's pretty calm now, but if you look at our deck, it's extremely. That's all ash. We wetted down the deck last night, but yeah, there's all ash here from the fire that was literally 200 meters away over there. The volunteer fire brigade managed to stop it in time. So Eva has rather skillfully switched out the radar, but we've got a little bit of a problem because the connection, the new radar's connection is different, so I cannot use the old cable that's stuck inside the mast to stop it flapping. So anyway, listen, we're going to try and get it connected up down here. I'm going to make an extension because the new cable is nowhere near as long as the old one, of course. So I just haven't quite got enough. So I'm going to have to make an extension with the pieces that I've already got. Obviously, if we were in a place less remote, then it wouldn't be a problem. We could just simply extend the cable, la-di-da-di-da. But you can see, it's these things, you just can't predict them. And so for quite a while now we've been without radar. That's the port there on the side at the base of the mast. You can see, and I'll show you the connections we're making in a second. What we have here is the old radar cable that's coming down from the top of the mast, and we've taken out the old cable out of the radar, and it's still stuck inside the mast with tape, but it's not going to waste. We're just going to leave the old section, and you can see in here I've tucked in the bit that I've just recently cut. There's the cut end, right? So keep that in there, and then what I've got from the new radar cable that I've inserted, and that's it. You can see it coming from up the top. That goes into the radar at the moment. That's currently there. And then what I do is, you can see, because I didn't have enough cable, I've basically joined. And what I have to say is, although these are not waterproof, I'll tie it up later. These Wago connectors are pretty handy, and they make a really nice connection. And what I have to explain is, if anybody's ever doing this, this is a Navico brand. This is a Halo 20, the new one, but the other radar is identical. So when you open the cable, this is the Cat 5, which is going to make your RJ45 in the end. And then I've just joined the old cable with the new one to use it, because I just simply don't have enough space. So just extended that, and then what I've done is, you'll be familiar, this stuff will be easy to get, but this is an extension for your local area network. I had one of them lying around, luckily. So I just thread this down. So what I'm going to do is, although it's not ideal to make the connection here in the base of the mast, I'm going to put it in like a bit of waterproof enclosure at the bottom of the mast here, and get this all set up nicely, including this piece here, which is obviously not waterproof. So I put all of that inside a waterproof enclosure inside, if I can, or whatever I can fit in. So I've joined the old cable with the new. That's just giving me a little bit extra distance, and I use this extension, because normally you can see that was this piece is essentially that one. Okay, so now this is the new cable and this is the old. So because I've already got this RJ45 connection, I don't need to use this one. So I'm using half and half, let's say. So I'm using the power cable and then in one cable, and then I'm using the RJ45, which is your data cable, in the other. That's just because I've got this extension. So ideally what you would do is you would just join these two cables, or actually just have one running cable, because this is another point of failure. But I'm obviously in a fairly remote place and I've got some big miles ahead of me, so this is just going to have to do. And what a lot of you may not know is that if you've got cables running down your mast, the halyards can cut them. Eventually they'll cut through them. And also, just while I'm filming, there's some chaos going over here with the fish. But just what can happen is these cables can rattle around. So once I'm finished with all of this, I'm just going to tape this piece next to the other cables as best I can, so that inside the mast that it's not flapping around as we move, as the whole boat moves. And that should help with the chafe as well. You'd be surprised, something rubbing for a long time does eventually chafe, and it's another point of problems, and then got to send it back up the mast again. So there you go. I know it's not very clear, it's kind of, you have to see it, but I'm going to explain here to you now. So that's your Cat 5. This yellow cable is something novel. What that does is when a voltage goes through it, it basically switches on the radar dome. And the positive and negative, those are your traditional positive and negative to power the dome itself. So the dome can handle 24 or 12 volts deliberately, because some boats are 12, some boats are 24. So we've got everything hooked up here. Can't see, sorry for the compressors of the aircon in the background, but like I said, here's my 5G router, and it's got a handy little light to say that I've plugged in that data cable, pretty much the same as that one. That's the old one that I made, the old radar. But you can see just by looking at that it's getting data. So therefore, consequently, I know that the radar is also getting power as well, otherwise it wouldn't be sending data. So quite useful. This is obviously the junction box, and you can see one of the things I've done is I patched the positive and the yellow together at the same time. You join them, and what that means is you switch on the radar when I switch it on from the nav station at the breakers, because we no longer have the software control of switching on the radar, because I don't have any Chartplotters anymore, because they've all failed. So, and then you can see my negative, and just underneath this one here, it's kind of hard to show you, but that's my negative for the radar. Positive here with the patched in with that yellow cable, and you can see the engineers who originally installed did the same with that one there, the yellow and the red are together. And I'd say that's the VHF or you know, maybe the radio, but I'd say it's more likely the VHF. So yeah, so I'm just going to close this all up. That's as good as I'm going to get it. Close it all up, put this mast box face back on, and I'm just going to tidy things up. You've got to assume on a boat that condensation of water will run down these cables. So classically, this is the mast, obviously the mast, the foot of the mast, yeah. So what you classically do in a boat is you put a bit of a turn in them and then close them so that any condensation and drips fall outside and then go down into the bilge. So that's what we're doing there. So I've just shown you it works well. And so basically in total, although it's been a lot of hard work, especially in heat and getting my new radar, and I really resented having to buy the Navico equipment again, but we've saved ourselves, let's see, at least $13,000 by doing this. $13,000 saved. So here we are at the laptop, and this is all happening over Wi-Fi. So if you're planning to do any of this, I suggest you get a 5G router. So I'm connected to my 5G Wi-Fi. And so remember upstairs, I've sent that Cat5 cable down, connected it into the back of my router, and over Wi-Fi, I'm getting this on the 5G Wi-Fi. In order to get it this smooth a picture, you need it 5G. So what you can see is quite clearly, all the good stuff that you normally get associated with a radar is coming through quite nicely. Now I'm only getting, there's actually, ironically, you get basically two radars with these Navico systems, 4G or Halo. So at the moment I'm only getting Halo A, but I think that's probably more of a software issue. Now I wouldn't get anything at all, I don't think, but yeah, better than nothing, right? Because I've had two of those Chartplotters fail. They're $6,500 for that. The radar dome is about, I bought it for roughly about $2,000, and you know, it's a bit of a no-brainer. If this software is free, and also I do it and it's more reliable and less complex, like all the installation choices, you know, all the stuff that are on the BandG software, you know, the hardware over here, this are all here, so why bother? It's Luis normalmente, no? Luis, yeah, it's Luis, but I'm in Marina Chiapas here, so it's the last stop in Mexico South before you get anywhere like Costa Rica, which is probably going to be your next stop. If you're more adventurous, you might want to head up El Salvador, but not for me, thank you. So anyway, these guys, we're just fixing the bow sprit here, and although it doesn't look pretty at the moment, we're going to, put it together a little bit more, let's say pretty. But yeah, the quality of the stainless before wasn't good enough. So you can see basically we're adding two new stainless loops to the bow sprit that I've already reinforced with box steel underneath. And Eva's just going to pan around and show you. But one of the things you've got to make sure as well is that you switch off all the batteries and everything that might be connected. So I've just isolated everything. And we've taken off the two old loops, and then we're just adding these. You can see one of the lads holding one of the loops. We're going to set it in from underneath and then weld it on, and that's that job done. So I've got these guys on board as well because we've also where the main sheet attaches to the boom. There's like a little adapter which I'll show you shortly, and it's snapped. And you know, listen, this stuff, you've got to accept it. There's a lot of force in that, and you'll notice it's the two major points, right? So this is when we have the spinnaker attached is to this point, and also where the main sheet, that massive mainsail, is attached by a cord. It's actually ripped off the metal where the main sheet is attached. Quite incredible. So I'm just going to show you next this little piece, but I'll let Eva pan around and show you these guys working. Pretty sure this is a TIG weld, so it's the weld is in that stick that he's holding, and that's the bit that joins the metal, and there's covers over the top of it. Slag, I think it's called, whenever it's all done. I'm not a welder, but yeah, done a little bit. But yeah, so a bit of slag left over in this style. I think it's TIG or MIG welding, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, the weld is joined, it's made by that piece of, you know, that cylinder that's coming out of his right hand there. Alba's seriously upset with everybody being on board and not asking her permission. Is Lewis, or Victor is his formal name. This is his card. And so these guys have done a pretty good job. I'm just going to show you some of the piece for the main sheet, which is pretty critical, obviously, because without a main sheet, it's not really going to. I'm not really going to get a whole lot of sailing done. So yeah, handy. So those in the know, you'll know that these are main sheets. To be honest, I can't remember. I think these are German main sheet system, but anyway. They have their pros and cons, like everything in life and sailing especially. But yeah, so this is Dyneema, 10mm Dyneema, and it's done great so far. This is the original Dyneema that I got with the boat, so it's lasted. Quite incredible stuff. However, like Dyneema and steel can both chafe, you can get chafe anywhere where there's a rough surface. So first of all, while I'm up here, I just want to show you, you can see there's a tiny bit of chafe here in the main sheet. You see that? It's going to pull off the covering of the Dyneema. So I'm going to have to see to that, make sure that that's okay. And you can see what's happened here. I've got a temporary solution to get us into port. We just crossed a very dangerous stretch of water to Antepec, which you would have seen at the end of the last video. But I made a very temporary solution. And so what's happened is the piece there, little piece that sits in here and then has a loop attached to it so that I can then join the main sheet to the boom. That's just snapped right off. So that says a lot for Dyneema, doesn't it? You know, like the Dyneema hasn't actually broken, it's the steel has broken. So the steel broke before the Dyneema did. So yeah, pretty incredible. Clearly, you know, there's two factors here that you need to, you know, be mindful of. It's not something I really think you can prepare for, to be honest. You might be able to buy a couple of extra things like this, but it goes to show you rigging inspection is pretty important. But the second thing I would say is that, you know, you want to make sure that this loop that the main sheet's attached to is nice and smooth. That's pretty key, because obviously then no matter what, whether it's steel or Dyneema, it's going to chafe. So you want to make sure that's smooth. So we've got quite a few miles in this boat and you can see that we've got this guy with, it's not a part you can buy. I've been on the website and looked, and it's not really a part that you can buy. So we've just got to make one with these steel fabricators. And yeah, so we're making another piece, and he's just got some slight measurements wrong, but he's mostly done it, and actually probably stronger than it originally was. The original piece was cast, and most of it was cast, and then a combination of cast and you know, high tensile steel. But now we're making it all high tensile steel. So yeah, cast is just generally a little bit more brittle in my experience. But if we've got any good welders there, you'll let me know. And Elba's barking. Yep. So here we have the piece. It's just got to make some modifications, but it's a very good copy. A very good copy of the original piece. But yeah, you get the idea. So my point is, you just got to make this edge very smooth in there so that you don't get any chafe. But yeah, you can see he's done a great job. That was originally a cast piece, and that is not. So I don't think that's going to break. Should be pretty good. We'll see.